We need to bring you this other developing story that I just brought to you in just a moment ago with our Canny Maphanga that's watching developments coming out of the Constitutional Court this hour in that matter of Moroadi Cholota. There, Canny, bring us up to speed with those developments. What happened in court this morning?
Indeed. Good morning to you, Nxolisi, and to the viewers at home. We thought that this morning the Constitutional Court would be clarifying a simple question about the legal position that has been set in the Schultz judgment, that is the extradition powers, whether they are afforded to the executive or a functionary power such as the National Prosecuting Authority. Of course, while we've received that clarity by Deputy Chief Justice Nazim Lambo that read that judgment out on behalf of the Constitutional Court, stating that that legal position is correct, that that power lies within the executive and not the NPA. However, because of the difficulties with the Cholota case, there are technicalities that need to be resolved in the Bloemfontein High Court. That is why the Constitutional Court has now remitted that matter back to the High Court level to deal with these particular issues surrounding the technicalities of the matter. So as we speak right now, the legal position is clear about where the extradition power is laid, but because of technicalities, there is now a setback, if I could put it that way, in the case of Cholota with respect to the extradition. So although her extradition was unlawful, the ConCourt is affirming that. It doesn't mean that the Bloemfontein High Court did not have that exercise of criminal jurisdiction over Cholota. And it is that point that we're going to unpack further with her lawyer, Pete Tabane, as we react to that particular judgment this morning. So we are seeing that there are no winners at this stage regarding this battle over the extradition or the technicalities. We're seeing the Constitutional Court confirming that indeed the power does lay with the Minister of Justice. However, there are technicalities that should have been considered by the Bloemfontein High Court before it relied solely on that legal position.
We are glad for this judgment, and in fact we anticipated it. We approached the Constitutional Court as early as last year when our client got arrested in the US. And why we approached the Constitutional Court then, it was to challenge the lawfulness of the extradition. This court today confirmed that we were correct. We are looking forward for the trial within trial to commence on Monday so that we can ventilate other points that were raised. And we will also afford the state to state their case. We're looking forward to that.
Are you maintaining your position about the criminal jurisdiction in light of what you've heard Deputy Chief Justice Mlambo now highlight to the court regarding those discrepancies, particularly with the Bloemfontein High Court not taking that into consideration?
There were other grounds that we have raised to challenge the extradition, but J. Lobsha saw it fit to only focus on one aspect, which was Schultz's judgment. That is why this court remitted the matter back to Judge Lobsha to consider the other grounds. So we still stand by that the extradition of our client was unlawful as affirmed by this court.
And should the High Court reach that conclusion again, and we've seen in Cholota's papers arguing that she had no issue with the extradition if it had followed that particular process of it being that of an executive power being exercised, does Ms. Cholota intend to continue with this process should it be started again with the correct due process being followed and the NPA not overstepping its powers as a state functionary?
This court directed that the High Court, Bloemfontein, should relook into other grounds that we have raised. So there's no need for us to relook into where the power lies. This court reaffirmed our position that the power lies with the executive. That has been dealt with, is water under the bridge. But there are other grounds that needs to be dealt with, and we're looking forward to deal with that de novo on Monday.
Such as?
The conduct of the police officers who were sent to extradite our client. It has been challenged. So that in itself, it needs to be ventilated. And obviously, the state will need to put their position. We submitted that our client was tortured. She suffered mental torture, and that's in violation of your rights. That needs to be ventilated. So we're looking forward to go back to Bloemfontein and deal with other grounds.
Several issues to be discussed there. I'm not sure if Ms. Cholota will still be able to join us here in the corner. If I could ask her to please come closer to us to react to this particular judgment. Again, once I've stated, apologies, can we just allow Ms. Cholota to make it through, that there seems to be a slight setback, but it is not a full loss yet. So you have seen that the extradition being unlawful was affirmed. The legal position is clear, but of course your case is quite different. So the technicalities now have to be dealt with back in the Bloemfontein High Court. So the journey is still going to be quite long for you as you try to defend the procedure or the manner in which you are being handled in this criminal matter, where you have raised quite a few concerns. But just your quick reaction to these latest developments that are more so a setback than any kind of determination on whether you have victory or not in this matter.
Yes, thank you very much to everyone. I'm very grateful for the justices of this Constitutional Court for the judgment. We welcome it, of course. As we all heard during the oral testimony on the Free State High Court on how the police officers and the prosecutors conspires to subject me to the cruel treatment and the mental torture, and how they made threats against my liberty and freedom. I think the nation also watched as I was taken away from my university where I was studying, unlawfully brought to this country, chained and accompanied by countless men with guns, and this after I had to spend still time in jail. As you've all watched, I was brought into court shackled, which is something that none of my former accused went through. I was paraded before TV cameras and humiliated before the nations. The state fought for me to be jailed pending this trial. They had never made such against my former accused. And if it had not been for my strong team that I'm grateful for, I would still be jailed awaiting this trial and not being able to fight it the way I'm fighting it now. I look forward to the restart of this trial, and I think it's going to give the opportunity that the truth, the whole truth, comes out. So yeah, and the other thing that I've been looking at, I'd like to just thank everyone for all the support that I have received, especially the South Africans who have witnessed my fight for freedom, of which I'm not willing to stop at any point, and for my rights. I'm definitely going to fight for my rights. I would also like to ask for support for my Beke Body campaign to cover my legal fees, because as we can see how this whole thing is prolonging, which now sits at more than 5 million. And I'm grateful to everyone, especially the government employees who are also supporting me. I express my gratitude to my legal team, as I've said, for they are relentless, because they are always supporting me towards fighting for my rights. Finally, I'd like to thank God for giving me the strength, because I'm still standing, because He always makes a way, even where there seems to be no way. I'd like to thank my family who went through a lot, my friends who are always supporting me, my church members who are praying for me. But then, in a nutshell, we are saying we are ready for everything.
All right, thank you very much. That was Ms. Cholota reacting to that Constitutional Court judgment. And of course, the matter is not over yet. Of course, the Constitutional Court has clarified where those extradition powers lay, but the matter is much more technical than that. And when they return to the Bloemfontein High Court on Monday, that is when you can expect that these technicalities about the criminal jurisdiction will be ventilated in that particular court. So we have that ruling coming out now. For the viewers that have just joined us, the Constitutional Court did not just focus on those extradition powers. They did clarify the legal position that, of course, those powers lay with the executive and not the National Prosecuting Authority as a state functionary. However, in the case of Cholota, that does not deprive the High Court of South Africa, that is the Bloemfontein High Court, from exercising criminal jurisdiction in this particular matter. So we'll be looking at that Superior Court on Monday when this matter returns.